two, one. Ken D. Foster, welcome to the Happy Hustle podcast, my friend. I am super excited about this one.
I'm so happy to be here, Cary. I'm looking forward to this. We, after our great introduction with each other, I think this is going to be an amazing show.
I agree, man. I mean, first of all, you are so talented. Like, even just reading your bio, I'm like blown away. I mean, you're a keynote speaker, a business strategist, a best-selling author, a syndicated radio host, and podcast host of Voices of Courage, which is heard in more than 162 countries. And you're the best-selling author of 7 books. You've been featured in hundreds of radio shows, webinars, and TV networks. And you're on the cover of Triathlon Magazine, which it's so cool. I read that you're like actually part of Team USA for triathlons, which is so badass. But tell me something, Ken, what is something interesting about yourself that not too many people know?
Well, I don't put it out there too much, the length of time that I meditate. So I'm a long-term meditator. I've been meditating since 1992. And one thing people don't know about me is I meditate an hour in the morning, an hour in the evening consistently. And so, of course, that's where I get a lot of my downloads to write my books and to generate the wealth that I do. So,
wow. I mean, that's pretty impressive. That's an impressive time frame. So 2 hours a day.
Well, it seems that way. You know, back a few years back, I met a fella. I was at an event. I met the ambassador to Sri Lanka from the United States. And him and I got to talking about meditation. And he says, I said, how long you meditate? At the time, I was meditating 10, 15, 20 minutes. And he told me he meditated 2 hours a day. Then he went on to tell me how many businesses he owned. He said, but that's nothing. Let me introduce you to my friend. So he took me over, he introduced me to his friend. And his friend happened to be a business guy. He owned most of the banks in southern India. He owned hotels. He owned apartment units. I don't know how many doors he had, but a whole bunch. And he says to me, he says, I meditate 3 hours every day. In that moment, I thought to myself, you know what? I think I need to figure out what's going on with these guys. These guys are very wealthy, and they are in power positions, and they have time to meditate. I think I need to figure that out, which I did.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, very interesting. What would you say to maybe a beginning yogi or beginner meditator who's like, Ken, 2 hours a day, that seems, extreme. What would you say in order to just start and get your foot in the door there?
Well, I would say everything comes out of habit, right? If we got successful businesses, you have to have the right success habits. You have to wake up in the morning. You have to focus on your business. You've got to have habits to, take care of your mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, everything in your life, right? Okay. Everything's driven by habit. So I would just say, get in the habit of, first of all, make the commitment, 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening, and learn to just be still. Right. Meditation, yoga, starts with stillness. Who was it? Leonardo da Vinci said, isolation is the price of greatness. Here, one of the most creative minds of our time. Einstein said, all I want to know are thoughts of God. The rest are details. Yogananda, one of the great sages of our time, said, stillness is the price of greatness. So we have to pay attention, right? Pay attention. That it's time to, what I want to say is even the last decade was all about expression, right? We were expressing ourselves on Facebook, on Twitter, where everybody's out there expressing their points of view. This next decade is different. This is about connection. And it's not only connecting with each other like we're doing here through Zoom, it's connecting deeply with ourself, with our soul, and learning how to go from the conscious mind and the subconscious mind to the superconscious mind, where all the answers lie. We start to ascend in consciousness and things wake up for us in our business. This is such a practical thing to do in our business. I can't even tell you. Like I said earlier, all the answers to my greatest questions come through meditation.
Wow. Yeah, I got to say, I really, you've lit a fire under me, Ken, because I'm one of those like 10, maybe 15-minute meditators a day. And like, I'm getting through it. And at the end, I feel better. I like to do Tai Chi and Qigong. I grew up, training martial arts, and so I like moving meditation. But then I spent some time at the Temple of the Universe. I don't know if you know Mickey Singer. I'm sure you've heard of him. But my brother was his personal mentee for a couple of years. And
Nice.
so I got to spend some time with him. And, I learned a lot of the philosophies of watching your thoughts and becoming, the observer and just how stillness is the key. And now here you are telling me how it translates to business success. So all the happy hustlers out there, make sure you're getting still. Make sure you're tapping into self and answering those deep questions, like Ken said, and really giving yourself that time to reflect.
Well, we're going to talk about this, but since we're on the subject of meditation, I have a new book out, and it's called The Courage to Change Everything. It's daily strategies and essential wisdom to awaken your inner genius. When somebody purchases that book, they also get my guided meditation. I think there's 8 of them that they get so it's a great way to start out your day. The way I start out my day, I don't know how you start out your day. I think starting out our day is everything. I was sitting in bed this morning. I was in gratitude. I tense, relax my body a few times to get it going. And then I tell my mind, I am awake and ready. And I pop out of bed. I'm awake and ready, right? Then I go and I'm doing some meditation. I'm starting, how we start our day is almost everything, isn't it? You ever start your day, you wake out and you go, oh, I'm so tired. It's gonna be a crappy day. Pretty soon you wake out and you have no energy. You don't want to do anything. You don't want to make those phone calls that you got to make. You don't want to connect with people. You just want to just hang and chill.
Yeah.
You won't do that when you learn how to master your mind. And that's what meditation does.
Yeah. So true. I mean, for me, I love the practice of journaling early in the morning and reflecting my attitude of gratitude. I write out 5 to 10 things that I'm just very grateful for in that moment. I like to do my Qigong or Tai Chi practice, hyperhydrate, take down my apple cider vinegar, lemon, pink Himalayan salt and my vitamins. And then I'll either jump on my rebounder or, start to shake out the lymphatic drainage system or go to the gym. And then, from there, I feel alive and I'm ready to tackle the day, and when I don't do my morning routine, I feel it. Like you said, you're slacking. It affects you. You got to win the day in the morning.
You feel it. And I just got a new rebounder. So I want you to know I'm with you. I went out riding with the elites on the road bikes about 3 weeks ago. And one of the elite guys that I was riding with is a guy by the name of John Howard. And John is Olympian several times. He's got Olympic gold. He also was the first man to win Ironman, I think. I mean, one of the first. He's an older guy, man. He's in his 70s. This guy is incredibly in shape. And the other one that I was riding with was a woman by the name of Denise Karenik. And Denise is, she has one. She's the fastest woman on a bicycle alive. She broke in 2017, I was on her team, one of her coaches. In fact, my premier coaching made it on the dragster. So they get behind the dragster and they pull her up on the Bonneville Salt Flats to 100 miles an hour behind this dragster. They cut her loose and then she pedals and drafts up to 186.4 miles per hour, breaking the overall land speed record for bicycling in the Guinness World Book of Records. So she's riding with me, right? John's riding with me. So we get back to John's house and I said, what are you doing to keep so young? He brings out his rebounder, right? Nice. Rebounder. I'm like, there we go. So anyway, long story about the rebounder.
I tell the happy hustlers out there all the time, hey, invest in a mini trampoline. If you don't know what we're talking about a mini trampoline here, people, a rebounder. And I recommend the ones that have the actual bungees, not the springs. It's easier on your knees over time. However, if you have ones with springs, it's okay too, but you just can't not enjoy jumping on trampoline. It brings you back to childhood days. So
it does. And, it does. And, I'm in pretty good shape, but, I got a rebounder, man, and I'm doing 20, 100 jumping jacks on that thing.
Yep.
That got me, man. I was like, the next day I'm sore. I'm like, this is really weird.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, man. Well, let's dive in. I want to talk
Yeah.
about courage because I know that is it's a, it's such a valuable topic to explore because we all have courage inside of us. However, some of us necessarily don't utilize it to our fullest extent. When I talk about courage, or when you talk about courage, Ken, better so, what do you define courage as? Let's start there.
Let's just start there. The way it's defined in Latin is it comes from the Latin word cur, which means to speak one's heart. So if you think about what it means to speak your heart, it really means to speak what is coming from your soul, your truth, your knowing, your wisdom. So real courage comes from that place. A lot of times we think of courage as jumping off doing bungee jumping or running into a burning building. And, that can be courageous. A lot of times that's instinctual. We'll just run into there to, save somebody or whatever. But real courage has to be developed. And in the United States today, there are courageous people, but there's a lot of people with undeveloped courage where they're living a lot of fear. You can walk down the street and know who's in fear, at least in the city down here. Okay. Masks are wonderful, I'm sure, for the people that want to wear them. But I have to say that when I'm out there and I'm a triathlete, I'm out there and I'm on my bike and I'm seeing other people wearing these masks on their bicycles or jogging, I know there's something else going on. That the boogeyman virus isn't going to jump on you in the hot sunshine when you're wearing when you're
riding your bike. Yeah.
Right. So fear is prevalent in our society. That's my point. And I think that to develop courage is one of the quests that will change everything in your life. Again, it's a soulful quality. And some people, when I was young, maybe when you were young, I had courage, but I had no wisdom. So, courage without wisdom is a little challenging, right? You get yourself in a lot of trouble. But wisdom without courage is just as big a challenge. All right. A lot of people have a lot of wisdom, out there, but they don't have the courage to go execute their dreams. So how does this apply to entrepreneurs? It applies to every single thing you're doing as an entrepreneur. If you are an entrepreneur that is, let's say you want to develop a new product or service. If you don't have the courage to go walk into the unknown, that's never going to happen for you. Because all entrepreneurs, everything we do is in the unknown, right? Wouldn't you agree? Yep. Okay, some of you guys are real planners. You go, no, I plan everything out. Great. You can use your mind to plan, but at one point you have to walk into the unknown because you don't know what's going to happen when you present your plan to the investor. You just don't know. You don't know what's going to happen when you develop a part that nobody's ever developed before. You have to walk into the unknown, and that's what takes courage.
Yeah, so true. I mean, courage is underdeveloped. You're right. In our society, we are living in fear, many of us at least. And it's something that I think this pandemic really brought about is the fear mongering so evidently. Like we can see the powers that be and how they control the masses with fear. It's just a tactic, and it's a shame too. Let me ask you this, Ken, how can one cultivate courage?
Well, first of all, you have to understand what courage is. So courage is the power or the force from the soul. It's the bridge between fear and faith. It's the bridge between unhappiness and happiness. Think about that. It's the bridge that builds over. It's the bridge from failure to success. That's what courage is, right? So if you want to develop courage, the first thing you need to do is set your intention. Okay, I'm going to develop courage. And you're like, some people go like, well, why would I need to do that? Well, for obvious reasons. How's your life going? So you might ask yourself, what's working, what's not working, and what can I do better, right? All right. So start there and look at what it is that's missing in your life. Even just look in your environment right now, where you are. Is there something missing that you'd really like to have in there? Okay. And you haven't done that yet. Is there a dream that it's bigger than yourself? All right. That you haven't done before. I remember when I started in podcasting, I didn't know anything about podcasting. So what I did, I thought, well, I'm going to reach out to people that know what they're doing. And so I put together one of my superpowers is putting people together, right? And connecting them. So I put them together in a group. We met every 2 weeks. They taught me how to podcast. I taught them how to use the power of intention to quadruple their results. And hey, guess what? I learned, they learned, and we went on our next ways. But I had to walk into the unknown. I had to use the courage to make up those phone calls, to call people that knew a whole bunch more than me. And I don't know about you, Cary, but sometimes I don't want to make those phone calls. I don't want to pick up those phones. Right? But I've learned to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's what it takes for an entrepreneur.
Yeah, so true. I mean, you have to be willing to fail. You have to be willing to be uncomfortable. You have to be willing to persevere past the inevitable adversity. And that's what, I really resonate with that methodology of courage and really just pushing past that fear. And that might mean the fear of, quitting your day job and becoming an entrepreneur or starting that side hustle. And maybe it's not going to work out. Heck, I have 3 failed startups on my resume already, and I'm sure I'll have more, but I learned and I turned those failures into fertilizer. And I think those have been some of my greatest teachings. Getting a business degree taught me a fraction of what I learned in my first 6 months of actually owning and operating a business. I'm sure you can relate. Ken.
I can relate to that. Let me tell you. Yeah. So, we fail forward as entrepreneurs, and if pain is a great motivator, we can either, avoid it and not do anything, or we can find our courage, get back up and go do it again. So let me finish answering that question. You said, how do people develop courage? First of all, I think we can use the power of the mind to develop courage. So how do we do that? Well, one of the ways we do that is asking questions, right? So here's a great question that you can ask yourself on a daily basis. If I was courageous, what would I do next? If I was courageous, what are the next 3 things I'm going to do to generate $2 million? Okay, I don't care what level you're at. You can ask those questions and you start to get the answers to the question. I wrote a book called Ask and You Will Succeed. It was my first bestseller book. And it had 1,001 ordinary questions to create extraordinary results. And I learned how to, ask the right questions, to use the power of the mind to get what we want. Albert Einstein once asked a question. He asked, what would it be like to ride a light beam of light, right? And he asked it for over 10 years. As a result of that, we have the special theory of relativity, E = mc squared. Just asking that question over and over again. My friends Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen, the authors of The Chicken Soup for the Soul, they asked over 300 times, what is a mega best-selling book title? They asked it. One day, I believe it was Jack that woke up in the morning and he had the title, Chicken Soup for the Soul. It sold over 500 million books so far, right? Wow. So, we can use the power of the mind to find courage. That's the whole point. So set your intention, ask the right questions around courage. And then here's the kicker. Every day, do something you've never done before. Just one thing. Just do something you've never done before. Eventually, it'll lead you to doing things that nobody's done before, if you're an entrepreneur, okay? Yeah. But even if you're not a developed entrepreneur, by doing that, you can even start by this. Question I give my grandkids is, how does it get better than this? How does it get better than this? That question drives their mind into start looking outside of themselves for things they've never seen before. How does it get better than this, right? I got that from a guy by the name of Gary Douglas from Access Consciousness, a beautiful, beautiful man with that was the best question I got out of his training. And I thought, man, that is cool. I'm going to apply it in my life. And it helps people to see things that they've never been able to see before. And as a result, they start to do things they've never been able to do before. And as a result of that, things that were impossible for them start to become possible.
Mm. Love that. How does it get better than this? Pushing yourself every day to ask yourself these difficult questions and to do something new every day. I love that. I mean, that's a great takeaway from me, Ken. Now, let me just ask you how, or if you can share, how have you applied these practices of finding courage in your own entrepreneurial story? Does a story resonate that you could share with the happy hustlers out there, that how you went from being fearful to then courageous and the outcome?
Oh, sure, absolutely. And the first thing that came to mind was after I wrote the book. It took me 6 years to write the book, The Courage to Change Everything, which they can get at couragetochange.us.
Awesome.
When I wrote that book, as a writer, you're writing, you're editing, but you're not applying the principles. You're not doing it yourself. So last year I thought, you know what? I'm going to go through this whole book. I'm going to do it myself before I release it. And I'm going to, actually, I released it out before this happened, but I'm going to do it every day. It's got 365 days that you're reading essential wisdom. I'm programming my mind. I'm asking these specific questions that drives the mind to specific ways of looking at the world. And I'm taking courageous actions every day. I thought, I'll do that. What is that going to happen for me? As a result of that, everything changed. Everything changed. All of a sudden, I woke up happier. All of a sudden, my business revenues started to increase. All of a sudden, my relationships got better and better. So I'm like, this is kind of cool. So that's one way I do it. But you know what? The other one that came to my mind real quick, when I started on the path to become a cyclist and a triathlete, I didn't know I was going to do triathletes. I didn't know that. All I wanted to do was ride a bike 25 miles. That was my goal.
Yeah.
That was it, right? I'll never forget how sick I was that first ride, right? But I found support. I started writing on a consistent basis, and it took courage. It took courage to be on somebody's back wheel on their bicycle, going 20 miles an hour, and you're 3 inches away from their tire. It took courage to learn all the pieces I needed to learn to be able to be the athlete that I am today. Just takes it, right? Just takes courage to do that.
Yeah, it really does. And I'm very much interested in getting into, triathlons in the future. Have you competed in an Ironman or?
Well, last one I competed in was at Penticton, British Columbia, the largest event. It was 3,500 athletes from around the world, largest athletic event in the world. And I competed in something called aqua bike. So it was bike and swim, right? So a 2-mile swim and a 75-mile bike ride as fast as you can go. And I got top 10 in my category in the world.
Woo!
And I got thrown on the cover of Triathlon Magazine. I thought about that. I thought that was the story in itself. I come home one day and my wife is saying, "Hey, did you ever see that magazine you have sitting on your dresser or nightstand? Did you ever see who's on the cover?" I was like, "No, it's just some guy." "Why?" She says, "That's you."
Oh my gosh.
Like, oh my gosh. What the heck?
That's hilarious.
But
Yeah.
I'll give you the steps to that. And this is the steps in business and everything else, right? Your heart's moved, you're inspired. You just said, "I'm inspired to go do this," right? Second step is you got to find, like for me, when I started writing, I joined a group called Team in Training. And I raised $2,500 for them, and they taught me how to do a 100-mile bike ride. But that's where I started, right? You don't have to start there. You can start with a half marathon. But I put people around me, number two, right? So I set my intention. My heart wanted to do that. I put people around me that knew what they're doing. I committed to it. It's not easy changing your habit of not wanting to go outside and, sleep in and hanging out, reading a book. Switch that into athletics, and you're every day you're now doing something that's gonna move you forward towards your goal. Same thing in business, right? We're gonna apply these principles. And then, it's taking those daily steps, but most importantly, it's reprogramming your thinking.
Mm.
It's getting, it doesn't really matter what the quest is, whether it's business, athletics, whether it's starting a nonprofit, whatever it is, they're all a quest. And who's gonna, it's like, who are you gonna become at the end of that business, okay, that you just started? Who are you gonna become at the end of your athletic journey? Who is it that's gonna evolve? And I think that's the deep question as entrepreneurs and as solopreneurs that we want to really ask ourselves, right? Who am I becoming? How am I evolving? How am I contributing better to the world? How am I being of greater service to my family, my community, my friends? We start to ask those questions. The reason they're so important is because they drive us, right? They drive us. They give us purpose. They give us meaning. And when the tough time comes in the business, or the tough time comes when it's raining outside and you just don't want to go outside and do anything, or it's cold and snowing up where you are, it's like, all right, I'm going to figure out a way. I'm going to put an gym in. Great. I'm going to go out and spike pole. I'm going to do whatever it takes. And that's how we build character. That's how we define who we become.
Yeah, so true. I mean, the discipline equals freedom over time. I love that by Jocko Willink. It's having the courage to skip the snooze button and get your butt up, and get outside and lace your shoes up and go for the run, even when it's not nice out, or skip the burger and eat a salad. These little micro choices add up to the compound effect, as Darren Hardy would say, over time, right? Where those little decisions add up to your reality. And I like this analogy of, you are currently living in your reality from your decisions 90 days ago. They accumulate to now where you are currently, presently, in this day. So take stock, happy hustlers, right now in your current reality. If you aren't where you want to be, if your bank account doesn't reflect the number that you want, if your business isn't succeeding at the level you desire, you have to take accountability first and foremost. Like Ken said, then you have to ask yourself, all right, what is your intention to get better? Where do you want it to take it? Then you put the people around you who can actually support that dream and that goal. And then moving forward, that consistent discipline over time will get you there. So great steps there, Ken. This has been amazing so far. So much wisdom, so much value bombs. I'm curious though. I always like to ask, give us a little backstory on you. And I want to know, what was your first hustle? The first thing you did for money?
First hustle was, let's see, selling Christmas cards. I think it was my first hustle way back when. And I never forget that. They came in we had to, you ordered them by mail. There was a flyer. They would come, and I'd go door to door, and I'd be talking to people about buying these beautiful Christmas cards and supporting me as a young kid. I think I was probably 9 years old. So that was my first hustle. And, from then I went on to a paper boy route. I'll never forget that. So I started young in that learning that Christmas cards, I remember knocking on doors I never wanted to knock on, but I learned how to talk to people. I learned how to connect with them. And I was surprised when every time I was so surprised when somebody bought something. I'll never forget that. I was like, wow, okay, cool. And then I started liking that. Anyway.
Yeah, that's cool.
Thanks for the old memory, man. That was a good one.
Of course. I mean, we all have, those initial hustles that really do bring us joy and a good giggle in the process, because,
I can remember the paper boy route where I was, get up at 2, 3 in the morning for the Sunday papers. My parents would get up with me, and we'd be stuffing them in these bags. So way back when paper boys delivered papers, right? So I'd get on my Schwinn bike. I'd put those big bags on there on both sides of the bike filled with all these newspapers, the Sunday papers. They were thick. And I'd go out in the neighborhood and start throwing those. I remember one time that bike was so heavy, it just tipped over, right? And I could not get it back up. I had to walk home and get my dad to come over and help me lift it back up. It's things like that. Those great memories. That's fun.
That is funny, man. Wow. But let's dive into health. And we touched on it, some of it, but I like to ask all my guests, multiple questions in multiple disciplines. First being health, because I believe health equals wealth. If you're not, healthy, both mentally, spiritually, and physically,
Yeah.
it's hard to happy hustle in any capacity, right? So let's talk
Yeah.
first about health. What is, and I like to call them happy hustle hacks. What is a happy hustle hack that you use that maybe you could share with the happy hustlers out there?
Well, I got a secret weapon, but you
Ooh.
probably ain't gonna have my secret weapon. But I have my wife. I have my wife,
Oh, yeah,
Phoebe.
yeah.
And she is always constantly researching the right foods to eat, and helping me to put that nutrition in my body. But what I would say this: here's my happy hustle hack. Every quarter on the solstice, okay, like we just hit it March 20th, right? Every quarter, um go ahead and do as long as you can, but a 3 to 10 day fast where you are letting go this. We're coming into the springtime now, so your body, if you can cleanse your body on a consistent basis. I like to do it every quarter for usually 7 to 10 days, and then for me it is once a week. There's a juice fast, like on a Sunday, where I'm just going 24 hours with juice. So that's what I do. Hopefully that's a good tip for everybody else. If you don't know about fasting, the fast that I've done up 40 days is called a master cleanse. You can get the book online on Amazon. It's a yellow book with a tree on it, a green tree. I tell you that because there's a bunch of master cleanses. This was written by Stanley Burroughs back in the 40s or 50s. And you've probably heard of it as the lemonade diet, but it's not really what you think it is. It's filled with nutrition that can sustain you. Like I said, I went 40 days on nothing but this lemonade diet.
Whoa.
So if I can do it, you can do 5 or 7. My brother just did it. He never did it in his life. He was having surgery, so he thought he better lose some weight. He lost 12 pounds on it over 10 days.
Whoa.
And he was able to do surgery successfully. He had knee surgery. So, and he's kept it off. So it's something you can do. Hopefully that'll give somebody some tips. The Stanley Burroughs, the Master Cleanse.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I like to do, just a daily 16-hour fast where I decrease my feeding window to 8 hours. And then usually on Sundays a fast, but I haven't done nearly a 40-day or anything like that. That's impressive. I have.
It took me years to get up to that. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't want anybody going out and saying, oh, I got to go do Ken's 40-day. That makes no sense. You got to do it under doctor's supervision. If you're new to fasting, you really need to do that.
Yeah.
But if you get the book and you actually read the foreword and not try to just go to the formula, you're going to get some downloads spiritually as to how this is going to work and why it works. And it's for most people, you got to reprogram your thinking a little bit to be able to shift into being even to do 3 days, right? Imagine not eating for 3 days. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It's a great point. We had a guy on, his name was Junaid. He has a company called Farmer's Juice. And I know Ken's big into juicing. I don't have fresh juice bars around the corner living in rural Montana. So I like to get fresh juice shipped to my door. And that's Farmer's Juice. Shameless plug, code HAPPY saves you some bucks if you do want to get the hookup on fresh juice to your door. So, but that's a great hack there, fasting. Let's dive into money. I like to, look at money as a tool. It really is, for me, the more I make, the more I can give. And I know you're similar in that, capacity, because you have a nonprofit and you're big into philanthropic world. Talk to us about money. And I know you've made a bunch. I'm sure you lost a bunch. What is a happy hustle hack for money that you can share? Something that maybe helps you save, invest, spend wisely. Give us something around money.
Okay, so the hack for money, if I had to do it all over again, okay, I would make sure no matter what to save 20% of my income, no matter what is going on in the world. All right. wrote a program called Soul and Money, and I go into depth about all the beliefs around money. But if you just have that one hack, 20% no matter what, pay yourself first. Everybody tells you these things, but are you doing it? Okay, pay yourself first, 20% of your income or more. And then, the giving part, here's what I love about the giving part. When it shifted for me, there's this thing about, I grew up Catholic, so we always had to give, but it came from a place of guilt, and I didn't like the guilt side.
Yeah.
So how I shifted that is I found something that I wanted to give. I found people that were in need that opened my heart. And for me, it was Kiva is what I give to. I don't know if you know about Kiva.
Oh, yeah.
I give every month,
Me
I'm
too.
on there. I'm looking at I give to the women because I feel like they're disadvantaged even more than the guys. But so, my heart opens up, and I've taught my grandkids, come on Kiva, let me show you how we do this. Right. So I think that's a good way to do that. There's so many books, there's so many things out there on money. The thing is that if you've been programmed subconsciously, for instance, I'll give you my example. I got in tune with the fact that my dad was an amazing man. He was LAPD for 48 years. He concurrently served in the armed services as a Central CID, Central Intelligence Division of the Army for 33 years concurrently with his LAPD.
Wow.
And so he worked for the state. He had that mindset, which is awesome. And he always tried to teach me about money. So what he would do, he'd loan me money, but then he would not require me to pay him back, or I wouldn't pay him back, right? So I had a mindset of always being in debt, right? He didn't mean to teach me that, but I was in debt for years. So I had to unlearn that. And the reason I'm saying that is that if some of you are not generating the wealth that you want, you really have to take a deep dive into the subconscious beliefs. There's a fellow in San Diego that does wonderful work around that. His name is Bill McKenna. You might Google him, Bill McKenna, McKenna, Bill McKenna. He has something called Cogno Movement. And Cogno Movement helps people to reprogram their subconscious mind and get rid of those beliefs. I also have a program. It's called Release, Renew, Evolve. And people can find that on my website at kendfoster.com. That program, people tell me, is like taking a dark pair of sunglasses off you never knew you had on. Because what I do is I help people to get into the subconscious mind. If you're somebody that thinks a lot, you're probably somebody that needs that program. If you're a person that's kind of physical, Bill McKenna's program would be better for you, right? If you're more kinesthetic. But the bottom line is, either way, is we have to release these subconscious beliefs that have been ingrained in us, right? And a lot of times, the only way you know that you have them is results. That's it. Look at the results you're getting, right? If if you can't save, great. Okay, there's something going on. If someone is, if you're overspending, great, subconscious belief. If you can't make enough money to support yourself, yeah, great, subconscious belief. You got to clear out the past, right?
I mean, so much wisdom just dropped there, guys. And we're going to link up all these amazing resources in the show notes, so you guys feel free to check those out. And I love that you mentioned Kiva, because I've been using Kiva for, a couple of years now. And that's one of my secret weapons of philanthropy, where I can automate my giving and knowing it's just getting withdrawn from my account every single month. And I don't ask for the loans back. I know, I'm sure you don't either, where you just,
I just reinvest them. I just reinvest the loan money. It's just fun to see that all the people, I bet you, at least 85, 90% of the monies are always repaid. Yeah. It's amazing. And then I go, wow, look, I get to reinvest more. So it's really cool.
Yeah, very cool indeed. Let's talk about spirituality. I know you're, deeply spiritual. For me, my dad is Catholic, not anymore. He repulsed it after he was allowed to choose. And then my mom was technically Jewish, but I just was, spiritual growing up, believing in a higher power and tapping into source energy. And, and I still pray, and I believe in God and whatnot. But just in terms of your spirituality, not necessarily to one God or another, but what is a happy hustle hack around spirituality? I know you mentioned meditation, but is there another tactic, tool, or tip that you can share in order to just tap in and become more spiritual?
Or to become spiritual? Well, I'll tell you a story. I was working for Tony Robbins in 1999, I think it was.
Nice.
And he had called me in his office. The cool thing was I had beat out 500 people to get the job that I got there.
So, what was it? What was the job?
I was filling up his rooms for him.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but I was hired. I was actually hired on to run his coaching, to start his coaching organization, because he wasn't doing the coaching part. Anyway, so I was up in his office and he was late. And I thought to myself, let me look at Tony's library. How cool is that? Wouldn't you like to look at Tony Robbins' library?
Oh, yeah.
So I went there and I was looking around, and he had probably 20 books on one author. And I thought, that's interesting, because I was looking, where does he get his wisdom? And the author was Paramahansa Yogananda. And at the time, I hadn't really heard about Paramahansa Yogananda, but I thought, I'm going to find out about this guy. And so as fate would have it, right, I was at a garage sale the next week, and somebody was selling like every book written by Paramahansa Yogananda and all the tapes and CDs and the whole 9 yards. So I thought, all right, how much you want? $25. Good, I got it. So I went and I started to learn about this master that had come over from India in the 1920s. And his mission was to show that the teachings of Jesus and the teachings of Krishna were one and the same. And he was teaching about meditation. And I thought to myself, I've been meditating, by the way. I started in 92, it was 99. I've been meditating a long time. But I could meditate, maximum there was maybe 40 minutes on a guided meditation, but predominantly was 15, 20 minutes, right? So I thought, let me learn about this. Well, I signed up for this Yogananda's lessons, and he gave me some techniques that I went from, within 3 months, I was able to do an 8-hour meditation, 8 hours. Whoa. So I went from 15, 20 minutes for all those years to an 8-hour meditation. I was like, this is amazing. And for me, as now that I'm looking back at that path, it's so important to get our information from the source, not from individuals that are, bless their heart, they're trying to teach things that they know little of. And a lot of times it's the blind leading the blind. So for me, if you can go and you can find a realized God-blessed man that knows how to connect deeply and speak with God, great. If not, find somebody like Yogananda, go to his site, learn the techniques to take you deep into the superconscious mind. And here, I'll just say this. I was watching Gaia TV the other night, and there's a guy by the name of Henry on there. Anyway, his program is about ascension, right? It's the ascension teachings. And he talks about the Gnostics and the Essenes and the Christian mystics and the symbolism in Egypt and Babylon and he combines it all. And we can look, in all religions, in all areas, we can look and understand that no matter if you're a Jew or a Catholic or a Muslim or whatever, a follower of Taoism, you are going to go to the same, we're all ascending into the same higher consciousness. A lot of those teachings were taken off the planet. They're coming back now. And if you have an interest, there's something calling your heart, I encourage you to check out Yogananda, because you'll get there with his teachings. It's yogananda.org, Yogananda, YOGANANDA.org. He's also got a great movie out there. It's called Awake. Maybe you see that first, Awake. And there's that's on Netflix. And there's the book, and I'll tell you one last story, okay? Stephen Jobs, right? Stephen Jobs, right? We all know him. Apple computer founder, credible, most successful company in the world. Stephen planned everything out in his life. And he even applied, he knew he was passing. He planned his memorial service, right? So everybody's sitting at the memorial service. At the end of the memorial service, everybody gets a brown box, right? And they open up the brown box. What's in the box? There's a book. It's the only book Stephen ever had on his iPhone. And the book is Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda.
Wow.
And what was Stephen's message? His message was to self-actualize. That's what he said. That's his final message, self-actualize, because that's what that book is all about, self-actualization. So, want to follow the greats, then do the things that the greats do. That's what I know.
Yeah. I mean, that is some woke wisdom there, Ken. I appreciate you sharing. I mean, I got to read that book. I've had it in my bookshelf, and I need to just dive in, and maybe I'll start with the movie later tonight.
Yeah, they have it on audio too. They have.
Okay.
Audio's good. I don't know. So, reading's difficult these days. I don't know, at least it is for me. That's why I wrote my book, The Courage to Change Everything, in just 1-page snippets. That's all you got to read. Can you handle 1 page?
Yeah. And where can people go to get that book again? I want to make sure.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. You can go to couragetochange.us, couragetochange.us, just to let people know right now, when they buy that book is a 440-page hardback bound book, right?
Oh, wow.
You can get it on Kindle too, if you like digital reading. But if you buy the hardback from me, I was selling it, and the retail price is $35. I dropped it down to $19.97 right now. Plus, when you buy that book, you get 2 sessions with me. I call it the Limitless Experience, where I teach you how to use that book to take off the limits of your life. And in addition to that, you also get my release process, which is going to help you to get rid of those subconscious beliefs. And you get the guided meditations from me. You get all of that when you buy that book. Whoa. So it's quite an offer right now, and I hope your listeners will take me up on it.
Yeah, couragetochange.us. Guys, get that book. I mean, you hear Ken dropping hot fire here on the mic. It's worth your time. Spend the $20, get all the bonuses, and just dive in. I mean, and then actually apply it. That's the most important part.
Well, that's why, quite frankly, that's why I gave those 2 sessions with me. Yeah. Now these are group sessions. You'll come into the group, and I'll teach you how to use the power of intention to accelerate whatever you're working on. And but I wanted to make sure that you had a quick start. A lot of people get a book, they pick it up, and they never start, right? We know that about resolutions. Like, how many people are still on their resolutions for January this year?
Yep.
Not very many. No. So, but I want to make sure that you get the start that you need. So if that's resonating with you, and I love what you said, man, the hot fire in the mic. If you're feeling fire in your heart right now, get over there. Don't wait. Don't think about it. Just go take care of it.
Exactly. Guys, couragetochange.us. Now let's do one more happy hustle hack. Then I want to dive into the rapid fire round, and then we'll wrap this bad boy up. What is a happy hustle hack for entrepreneurship? Because I know you've started multiple companies, and it's not easy being an entrepreneur, right? I mean, it's a beast. Let's hear a happy hustle hack that you can share.
I'll just tell you real quick, like, everybody's heard this before, okay? But it's like, if you can ingrain this in your mind, you will create success. Don't stop. Be persistent, no matter what. I had a very successful, one of my failures, I had a really successful company. And I think it was generating, $60,000 a month in income. It was really cool. I went to a friend who was not a coach. He wasn't a professional. He was just a friend. And I told him, I said, I'd hit a wall, and I was like thinking, I don't want to do this anymore. It was tough, right? He gave me poor advice. He said, quit. And I thought, and I respected him so much. This guy at the time, he was a multi-gajillionaire. He owned 5,000 doors, something like that. And I thought, okay, that makes sense. I'm going to let this go and go do my heart, my passion. Absolutely wrong decision. Completely wrong decision in hindsight. What I want to say is that when the tough gets going, the going get tough. You've heard that before, but really take it to heart. When things look like everything's going to fall apart and your business is going to fail, I can't tell you how many business owners I have coached over the years, thousands of them, that when they hit that point, that's the point that everything changes for the better. They may end up one of my friends, Chris Jab, he had owned a company called broadcast.com, little company. It was sold for $5.7 billion to Yahoo. And Chris, that was Mark Cuban's first billion, right? So Chris started that company, and that company didn't even look like what broadcast.com ended up to be. There wasn't even the same concept, right? Your company will morph, it will change, but here's the thing. You're the one that has to change. You're the one that has to make the decisions, the tough decisions. And when it's really painful, it looks like nothing's going to work, don't go out and try to change personnel and people. Change yourself. That's what had to change. And that's my message.
Woo-wee. I mean, value bombs galore, people. Take that in, because I know I am. That was amazing, Ken.
Thanks.
Don't quit. Stay persistent, especially when the going gets tough. The tough gets going. So let's dive in now to the rapid fire round, Ken. And this is basically where I just ask you random questions and you answer honestly. First thing that comes to mind. Are you ready?
Sure thing.
Favorite movie? Go.
Oh, Spider-Man.
Favorite food?
What's that?
Favorite food?
Artichokes.
Oh, nice. Favorite book?
Oh, the 3 Magic Words.
Very cool. What is your spirit animal?
Is the hawk.
Nice. Best business advice?
Be persistent. We just said that.
Favorite cliche saying?
Cliche what?
Favorite cliche saying?
Do unto others as you would like them to do unto you.
Love it. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Omnipresence.
Oh, one word you wish to be synonymous with your name for the rest of your life?
Courage.
And if you had a billboard and this was your last piece of content, what would that billboard say?
He lived, he loved, he experienced life fully.
Love it. And 3 things you're most grateful for?
My wife, Judy, my kids and my grandkids, and my health. I think there's a 4th, and probably first. My deep connection to soul, to spirit, what I've learned through the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda.
Love it. Amazing, Ken. Now, we mentioned courage2change.us. What are some other links if people want to follow you online or, some social links?
Hey, that's a great piece. Okay, so Clubhouse. If you're not on Clubhouse, you got to be on Clubhouse. And Cary, I'm doing my Clubhouse on Wednesdays at 2:00 Pacific. It's called Voices of Courage. Also, I have a radio show called Voices of Courage. It's radio, TV, podcast, live streaming. We're in 170 countries on 14 networks around the world. Voicesofcourage.us. Check me out there. What else do I want to tell you? Go to, I don't know.
Courage to Change, for sure.
Courage to Change. Go to courage2change.us and go to kendfoster.us if you want to connect more with me and find out more about what I do. You can even sign up for a session. You and I can talk personally one-on-one about what you want and what your next level of success will be.
Wow, guys. I mean, there you have it. kendfoster.us. If you do want to connect with him, I mean, that's a pretty amazing offer. I know how valuable that is just from this conversation alone. So take him up on that.
By the way, Cary, it's kendfoster.com on that one.
Oh, kendfoster.com. Okay. kendfoster.com. And then check out Voices of Courage, streaming everywhere pretty much.
Everywhere. Just Google it. Or say, tell Alexa, Cortana, or Siri, play Voices of Courage podcast. It'll come right up.
Very cool. Very cool. And I'm actually going to be a guest on there soon. I'm super excited. So can't wait for that. And then definitely, guys, check out the book, courage2change.us. Get those amazing bonuses. Ken, this has been awesome, man. I really appreciate you. I just want to take a moment to, appreciate you and say how grateful I am for you sharing your love, your light, your wisdom. I mean, with us and myself in particular, this has really been an amazing interview, and I'm grateful for you.
Thanks, Cary. Cary, I'm grateful for you, and I appreciate you taking the time to interview me. And the work that you're doing is touching a lot of people's lives. So congratulations. I know you got super successful in so many areas of your life too. So I'm happy to be part of this with you, man. Thanks.
Thank you, man. I received that and I appreciate it. Now, final question. What does happy hustling mean to you?
It means where you tune into that happy part of your soul, right? And you go out there and you spread that happiness to the next person. Listen, nobody can make you unhappy if you choose to be happy. Nobody can make you happy if you choose to be unhappy. So choose to be happy and go spread that happy hustle to the next person. The person at the grocery store, the clerk that's behind there, that's been behind pumping out those groceries all day long. You just smile at them and give them your love. Watch them change. Watch them change. That's my message, man.
Love it, man. This has been awesome. Ken D. Foster, everyone. Thanks for watching and listening. We out. Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Woo!